Good afternoon, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you to 3AI for organizing such a wonderful event. We are going to not talk about what everyone has spoken so far about Gen AI because our core competence lies in real estate. So what we are going to talk about today is GCCs are global capability centers to the rest of the world. In our parlance, GCCs means great clients to chase. So we are quite happy and pleased here in this august company and to have your attention. So let's get right to it. So I handle the office leasing business for Knight Frank in Bangalore. I've been in the industry for 18 odd years now and been in the office market domain. So before we get into GCCs and the India real estate market, let's just focus on how the economy has been so far. Usually after any economic event or a pandemic or any subprime crisis or global financial crisis, erstwhile the economy used to have a very fast and a sharp V-shaped recovery because there used to be a fiscal stimulus pumped into the economy for the economy to recover. So what was different in the subprime crisis was that the economy rose very sharp right after it fell in 2008. What has changed is right after the pandemic, this rise of the GDP and the economy is much slower in nature, and it's a more C-shaped, or what we call it the long grind, because there is limited fiscal stimulus being pumped into the economy. However, with taking into consideration the geopolitical conditions of the world, India is at a much stronger and a much advanced stage of growth where our GDP is growing at a much faster rate in comparison to the rest of the world. So therefore, between 2010 to 2021, there's been 46% of fiscal stimulus that has hit the market, which was a percentage of the GDP, and that gave rise to a lot of investment coming into startups and other companies. So now there is an absence of fiscal stimulus in the market. The cycle is changed, and the spending investments are subject to a lot of checks and balances by a lot of companies. And the change in leaderboard in the biggest companies in the world is now dominated again by the real world economy companies, and investments in to and by the companies representing the old world economy has focused higher, and there is more heightened focus on profitability. So that is the economic situation, which is now given rise to deglobalization, and there is a global supply chain realignment happening globally. Where does India stand in this whole picture? The revolutionary moments in Indian business is, of course, in early 90s, we had our beloved Maruti car enter the market, which revolutionized the automotive market. India is now a $100 billion automotive market, and it's a leading exporter of automobiles. In early 90s and 2000, which was the inflection point for IT services in India, the Genpact moment, if you may call it, led to the $400 billion rise of the Indian global IT services industry. Similarly, from 2000 right up to now, the influx of the global capability centers because of the cost arbitrage and the talent scape that India has to offer, the GCCs have grown at a phenomenal rate. And the maturity of this cycle is manufacturing coming into India because all companies want a China plus one policy. There's a heightened focus on EV mobility and batteries, and most importantly, the semiconductor companies coming and setting up the manufacturing units in India. So India automatically becomes a natural business destination for manufacturing, taking the GCC progression to the next level, and semiconductors, electronics, green energy, auto and auto ancillary, infrastructure and capital goods, and defense will see an uptick in the market. There has also been a shift in demand in office absorption. Historically, the GCCs, this is pre-2017, GCCs used to contribute only 5% of the absorption of the total office market in India. And India-facing businesses which had product sales in India used to contribute about 15% of the total office absorption. The third-party IT services companies such as TCS, Infosys, IBM, etc. used to contribute about 70%, and there was no existence of the layer of the market which is managed offices. However, this has changed come calendar year 2022. There's been a phenomenal uptick in GCC office absorption, which is about 26%. India-facing business is doing well because of the Indian economy performing extremely well, to about 39%. The third-party IT services saw a decline of about 16% in office space take-up, and the emergence of managed office players took up about 19% of the space. 2023 was a record year in office absorption in India, and the lion's share went to GCCs and the India-facing business, 35 and 37%. The third-party IT service providers continue to either surrender space or not grow. And of course, managed offices grew at a rate of 17%. The outlook is India is going to record its highest ever absorption this year in 2024, and the bandwagon will again be led by GCCs, India-facing business, as well as third-party. There's an emergence, resurfacing of India third-party IT services. This is the spread of the GCCs absorption in the country, the lowest being in Ahmedabad and the highest being in Bangalore. No surprises there because of the availability of talent pool and quality real estate. And the forecast for the market size is from $19 billion, it has come up to $46 billion, to a staggering $110 billion in 2030. So the whole, so I think this whole group deserves a round of applause, because this is one of the biggest and the fastest growing sector in the Indian economy at the moment. And the total number of GCCs which are going to be in existence by 2030 are projected to be 2,500. Samir earlier mentioned that the count is about 1,600 at the moment. Marrying the GCC absorption in India to what the Indian absorption is, that the average warm shell rental in India is about 104 rupees, and GCCs pay just about shy from 100 bucks, about 89 rupees is the average rental for warm shell which is paid. And the sweet spot for take-up of space is just about 50,000 square feet. About 5,800 transactions have happened from 2018 to 2023, right under 50,000 square feet. And then they eventually progress to 50 to 100,000 and eventually larger than 100,000. I'm breezing away with all this. Only the key data points is Bangalore, the average rental for warm shell remains at 68 rupees. And the highest amount of absorption in India for GCCs has stood at 4 million square feet in Bangalore itself. So Bangalore rules the roost with GCC absorption. Again, tech-based GCCs are growing in Bangalore at 53% the total share, manufacturing in Chennai, and banking and financial services in Bombay. The flow of GCC funds, no surprises there, has been highest in India. But I'm just going to take a little time here to talk about, what are the challenges faced by the GCC industry. First of all, the return to work or the hybrid working mechanism. In case of an onshoring setup in their home countries of global MNCs, the costs are the highest, either working from office or working from home. And when you offshore that business to a country like India, there are higher savings if you work from office because of the cost arbitrage of the warm shell cost. And there are lower costs if you further work from home. So the sweet spot is hybrid working is here to stay and will continue to stay. And how do you mitigate that? GCCs are essentially, a cost center. So cost of capital is extremely important, and that's the gunpowder that you use to hire the best talent. So there are models where GCCs can mitigate cost and get the cost arbitrage by opting for third-party funding agencies to fund the equipment, fit-outs, and all of the other components, which will also make it relatively easier for your dividend distribution tax and the transfer pricing that you will enjoy. Similarly, if you have a very hybrid, fluid working model, managed office services or flex office providers can give you shorter lock-ins and can limit your growing and degrowing and keep it very dynamic and give you that cost arbitrage in terms of not having a very high lock-in. Similarly, if you notice any city, I'm just taking the example of Bangalore here, there's a lopsided concentration of most of the industry being in the southeast quadrant, which causes a lot of traffic congestion and commuting challenges. So, and infrastructure is relatively crumbling in the, in the city. So what we advise as a recommendation is to open up different micro markets. It could be the west of Bangalore, it could be the north of Bangalore, where there is talent catchment available, where there's accessibility to metro with the deep metro penetration in most of the areas. It's just that intervention, collective intervention of the industry, the collective intervention of the government, and the real estate developers, who have to work together to make this shift to other micro markets and also explore maybe tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And in our interactions, when we have with most of the mature GCCs, up to 50,000 to 500,000 square feet of occupancy, it's wise to operate out of one location. Beyond 500,000, you would like to enjoy the talent aspect of other micro locations or perhaps other cities as well. And beyond 1,000,000 square feet, you could have a hub and spoke model of office setup where you could have one large office, say an outer ring road, have multiple offices in different micro markets like a Whitefield or a North Bangalore in order to attract and exploit the talent of those other micro markets. Similarly, tier 2 and tier 3 cities, until now, which have been ignored and neglected, are also growing in infrastructure. These cities can also be looked at. Jaipur, Mysore, Coimbatore, Indore are some of the examples where some of you have already gone and set up shop. I can't really mention the importance of the zero carbon emission targets that most of the mature companies have here. So most of the buildings that you will look at will obviously automatically be ESG and LEED compliant. All the buildings are also, coming up with the thought process of making diversity, equity, and inclusion. Public transport connectivity and metro accessibility also is a DE&I aspect, so that you don't discriminate in who comes to work and how easily accessible it is for people to come to work. And having amenities like daycare centers, gymnasiums, where employees can spend more time at the workplace without really, having too many challenges or without having any barriers to come in and work. So this is essentially, the GCC story happening in India, but without the government impetus and collective intervention of the industry and our real estate community, this could dampen the growth. So I think all of us have to work together here. That was my time. I just wanted to breeze through this because the monitor is constantly flashing that my time's up. So in case you have any questions, we are around here. And I just want to take one more moment. We are unveiling our GCC report, capturing all these data points and more in a more descriptive manner that will be given out to everyone here. And any more questions, we are about 10 of us here. So, we are very happy to engage with you and answer any of your questions. Thank you very much.